company, and she was no longer there in the office, or really working for Terminex.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about how you had occasion to see her while you were working for another company.
Well, the last time I saw Dannette at her home, I was working for Middleton Pest Control. Dannette looked like a totally different person. It was not the person that I hired. Like her body had just deteriorated. She couldn't, basically, almost like she couldn't even walk. Couldn't walk, couldn't move.
What was the occasion? Give us a little bit of background about how you came about to see her and come across her.
Another one of my salesmen, in fact, told me she was home, and I was on that street doing an inspection for another home. In fact, that's when I found out where she lived, because I never knew where Dannette lived. But when I was at her home, I saw how she was moving, how she acted, how she looked. She looked beautiful.
Okay, and that second time you mentioned that she looked different and her body had changed a little bit. Did you tell us a little bit about, did you have an occasion to talk to her?
I talked with her a lot. She was under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. She was unemployed. She single mom trying to raise a son with no ways, no income, and no way to try to even get any income.
Did she tell you anything about her discomfort, the parts of her body that caused her discomfort at that time?
Her back, her neck, her legs, she could barely move.
And I know this is also tough, and you can't do it tough. Could you give us some more details about what she told you or anything like that? Was it sharp, dull?
Other than she was asking, did I know anyone that could help her? She was struggling, trying to make ends meet, keep the lights on, trying to keep her computer up and running so she can try to seek a job or talk to someone. She just needed help.
Okay. How long did you talk to her at that time?
I talked with her for at least an hour because she needed someone to talk to and tell what was going on.
Okay. Did you ever see her again after that time at her house?
I haven't seen Dannette since, and that had to be 2000, definitely 2008, 2009.
Okay. Did you see, what about, did you ever see her sometime with your wife or something?
I saw her once with my wife. She was in a car. I forget where it was. So I introduced my wife to her.
Okay. And how about that conversation? How long was that?
That may have been 10, 15 minutes. No more than that.
Was that, do you remember if that was before or after the time you saw her at her house?
I believe that was after I saw her at her home.
Okay. And did she tell you anything about what symptoms she was having that time?
Same systems. She was still back problems, neck problems, a lot of pain, no help, no one to turn to.
Okay.
Nothing had changed.
Okay. And before I forget to ask, just going to back up a little bit. When she was working at Terminex, about how much was she getting paid?
She was on salary plus commission. If it was just salary, that would have been $2,000 a month. Then that was making much more than salary because her sales was almost through the roof. She was equally my number one salesman, which was doing anywhere to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month.
So you said $50,000 a month in sales?
Yes. If averaging those type of sales, and she was being paid anywhere from 6 to 10% of the total sales, Dannette should have been making anywhere $40,000, $50,000.
Okay. All right. All right. Did she? You just mentioned, I guess, that she was applying for work online. Did you Tell you what, when she was standing there when you met her, saw her with her wife, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you tell the jury a little bit about her demeanor when she was standing up?
She couldn't stand long. She would have to lean. Dannette lost a lot of weight. Just her entire body, everything had changed. But standing, she couldn't stand. Not for any period of time. She would definitely have to stand.
Okay. One second. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Lee. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Lee.
Hi, how you doing?
We've had the occasion to speak with each other before. I'm Matt Fisher, and I represent Mr. Baptiste here, Dr. Baptiste. Now, you worked with Terminex along with Dannette, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you were her sales manager. How long were you working with Dannette before the incident we're here for? About 3 months?
Either March, April, until I left definitely in September.
And the reason you left in September was what?
One was seeking other employment because I wanted to go higher in the company. And they didn't have a store or branch management position. I was acting as the regional sales manager for Sarasota branch, Northport branch, and Fort Myers at the time.
So you chose to move on.
Yes, sir.
All right. And how many times did you see Dannette Griffith from the time you hired her until the incident we're here for? You mentioned you went down to Fort Myers. Were you staying down there mostly?
No, I would commute back and forth every day.
Oh, okay.
But prior to going to Fort Myers, I saw Dannette every day. The sales team had to meet every day there at the office, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 to definitely 8 to 5, unless I had a sales meeting at 4 o'clock where we was getting together to set up appointments for the next day.
And then you saw her the one time after the incident we're here for when she was in the office doing light duty?
Yes, sir.
All right. And was it about that time when she was doing light duty that you chose to leave Terminex?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you don't know anything about why Dannette left Terminex, do you?
No.
All right. And then when you saw her the next time, it was around 2009 at her house?
About that time, yeah.
Okay. And she did not look good to you then?
No, sir.
All right. And y'all spoke for, what, an hour or so?
Definitely an hour plus.
And then you saw her with your wife, I believe it was in a parking lot, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then you spoke with her then. And would that be around the year 2010, 2009, 2010?
I can't say it was 2009, 2010.
When do you think? The last time you saw her?
I would say in 2009.
Okay.
Just nothing rings a bell to remind me about 2010.
Okay.
It's kind of hard for me to go back and pull up that number.
So 2009, tell the jury what she looked like to you then.
First of all, Dannette was, when I hired Dannette was a very attractive woman. Healthy, strong, plenty of energy, personality. There was no reason whatsoever a customer could say no to Dannette if she had an appointment. Dannette lost, definitely had to be 50 pounds. Dannette didn't even look like the same woman.
When you saw her in 2009?
When I saw Dannette, I would not have hired Dannette to do anything. She needed to be in a bed.
Are you aware of any restrictions on what she was not, certain things she wasn't able to do after the accident?
She wasn't able to walk around this courtroom. She was told to sit down. She had to stay sitting. When I talked with her at home, Dannette couldn't get up to answer the door.
Okay. That's what you saw at that time. And you haven't seen her since?
I haven't seen her since My wife and I both saw it. That's the last time I seen that.
And you don't know, well, tell me what you do know, what Dannette told you about the accident we're here for. What kind of accident was it?
She never went into detail with me with the accident, other than she was in an accident. She was at lunch. She didn't know who to call, what to do. Didn't know how Terminex would take it. I told her, you pick up the telephone, you treat it like any other accident, you call the police.
And that's it?
You get a police report and go from there.
That's all you know about the accident?
That's all I know about the accident.
Do you know anything about the damage to her car?
No, sir.
That there was any damage?
No, sir.
All right. So you haven't seen her since around 2009. Do you know about anything about, have you spoken to her on the phone?
I spoke with her on the phone when she asked me would I testify and give a character reference.
What you're doing now?
Yes.
Okay.
And I told her I had no problem telling the truth.
All right. And when did she call you up to ask you to do this?
That was last June, July.
So really the only knowledge you have of Ms. Griffith is just what you told us today?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sir.
Hey, you leave her.
Thank you, John.
All right, so you may step down. Hey, call your next, please.